My name is Rachel Cole. I'm 30 years old. On the day I graduated from Ohio State, my father stood at the reception and raised his glass. But the toast wasn't for me. It was for my sister, Stephanie, who wasn't even graduating that year. He announced in front of 60 guests that Stephanie had just been accepted into a PhD program at Columbia University. Then he looked at me and said, "Rachel, maybe one day you'll find something you're actually good at." Everyone laughed. My mother smiled and nodded. I didn't cry. I didn't argue. I just memorized every face in that room. They think I disappeared because I was broken. They don't know I disappeared because I finally understood. I was never going to win a game they had rigged from the start. 7 years later, my parents sent Stephanie to find me. What she uncovered made them realize they had made a terrible mistake. But by then, it was already too late. Let me start from the beginning. Not the graduation, but the years that made it inevitable. I was born in 1995, 3 years after Stephanie. Middle child. Canton, Ohio. Suburban, middle class, the kind of place where everyone knew everyone and your worth was measured by the college sticker on your parents' car. Stephanie's sticker was Columbia. Mine was Ohio State. But that distinction didn't start in college. It started when I was 8 years old. I'd won 3rd place in the school art contest, a drawing of our backyard garden. I was so proud I could barely sit still. My father glanced at it for maybe 2 seconds. "That's nice, sweetie," he said. Then he turned to Stephanie. "Tell your mother about the letter you got today." She was 11. She always looked uncomfortable when my parents praised her in front of me, like she knew it wasn't fair but didn't know how to stop it. "I got into the gifted program," she said quietly. My mother gasped. My father stood up and hugged her. "Stephanie, we always knew you were special." Then, almost as an afterthought, he said, "Rachel, go set the table." I already had. He didn't hear me. The next morning, I found my drawing in the kitchen trash, blue ribbon still pinned to it. I learned something that night. Effort didn't matter if you were the wrong child. The years that followed only confirmed it. Stephanie got a new Honda Civic for her 19th birthday. I got told to use the old Corolla when it was available, which was almost never. I walked 2.3 miles to my part-time job at the library 3 times a week and saved every dollar in a mason jar under my bed. My parents contributed $12,000 toward my college tuition. They'd spent $55,000 on Stephanie's undergraduate degree. I graduated with $82,000 in debt. Stephanie graduated summa cum laude with none. By the time I walked across that stage in May 2017, I had learned to be invisible. I just didn't know yet that invisibility could be a weapon. The reception was at a family-run Italian restaurant. 60 guests, extended family, their friends from church, people I barely knew. My parents sat at the head table with Stephanie. I sat at a side table with 2 cousins. I'd met maybe 3 times, both of them on their phones the entire dinner. At 7:14, my father stood up, tapped his glass, and the room went quiet. He spoke about Stephanie's PhD acceptance at Columbia like it was the main event. Then he turned to me. "And Rachel graduated today, too. Communications degree." A pause long enough that I thought he might stop there. He didn't. "Rachel," he said, smiling, "maybe one day you'll find something you're actually good at." 17 people laughed. I counted. My mother smiled and nodded. Stephanie's face went pale. She started to say something, but my father was already moving on. I left the party at 8:30. No one noticed. I walked back to my dorm, sat on the bare mattress, opened my laptop, and created a new email account. Then I started searching. Freelance work, audiobook narration, podcast editing, remote jobs. I opened a spreadsheet and tracked every cent I had. $3,500. I calculated how long it would last. 3 months, maybe 4 if I was careful. On June 3rd, 2017, I bought a one-way Greyhound ticket to Portland, Oregon. 2 suitcases, everything I owned. My mother texted me the day I left. "Where are you staying after the dorm closes?" I typed back, "West Coast." 3 weeks of silence. Then, Okay, let us know if you need anything. They didn't ask which city. They didn't call. Portland felt like another planet. No one knew me. No one compared me to Stephanie. I found a studio apartment through an online listing. Small, narrow shower, 2-burner kitchen. I didn't care. It was mine. I set up recording equipment in the closet, taught myself audio editing software, and created freelance profiles online. The first month I made $1,200. By December, $3,500. I worked 12-hour days, 6 days a week. My only social connection was a library card. Then came March 8th, 2018. My phone rang at 9:14 at night. Pennsylvania area code. I answered. Rachel, thank God. My father's voice was cracking, desperate. My mother was crying in the background. It's Stephanie, he said. She's sick. Ovarian tumor. She needs surgery next week, but the insurance company denied the claim. Rachel, we need $15,000. You got that scholarship payout. We'll pay you back. I promise. This is life or death. She's your sister. I looked at my bank account. $18,500. Every penny I'd saved, my entire safety net. I wired the money 3 days later, $15,000. And 3 days after that, my text turned green. Calls went straight to voicemail. They had blocked me. All of them. They took the money and erased me like I never existed, like I was only worth the dollar amount I could provide. I sat on the floor of my apartment and stared at the wall for an hour. Then I opened my laptop, created a folder, and labeled it Insurance. I saved the wire transfer receipt, screenshots of every green message, and the voicemail my father had left. I had a feeling I'd need it. The years after that, I compressed into work. 2018 income, $38,000. 2019, $61,000. 2020, COVID hit, and podcasts exploded. $98,000. In January 2021, I incorporated Cole Audio Network, LLC, using my initials, R.C. Hayes. Hayes was my grandmother's maiden name, the only person in my family who had ever been kind to me. By October 2022, I had 5 employees and revenue of $1.1 million. By 2024, revenue hit $2.8 million. I had 12 full-time employees, 85,000 paid subscribers, and over 300 audiobook titles. I never showed my face on video calls. Never used my real name publicly. R.C. Hayes had a reputation. Rachel Cole had none. That was exactly how I wanted it. On July 22, 2025, my attorney called me. A media company wanted to buy 65% of Cole Audio Network. The offer was $9.8 million. I signed the term sheet 2 days later. The deal required review by a corporate law firm in Seattle. That firm employed my sister. Stephanie knocked on my apartment door on a Friday morning. Older, tired, dark circles under her eyes. She held a coffee cup half empty and cold. Rachel, it's me. I just need to know you're okay. Please. I stood there for 10 seconds, hand frozen on the doorknob. Then I opened the door. She came inside. Looked around. Said it was nice. Then she told me why she was there. Our parents had asked her to check on me. They said I'd stopped answering their calls years ago. I stared at her. They blocked me. March 2018, 3 days after I wired them $15,000. Her face went blank. She didn't know. She genuinely didn't know. So I told her everything. The call. The fake emergency. The money I sent. The silence that followed. Stephanie's hands were shaking by the time I finished. Rachel, she said slowly. I never had surgery. I was visiting Grandma in March 2018. She fell, and I stayed with her for a week. I wasn't sick. I was never sick. The room went very quiet. She requested her medical records from 2018. No surgical procedures, no oncology consultations, no insurance claims, just one routine checkup. Then she started digging further. She found everything. Our father had a gambling problem, casinos, sports betting, private debt. The house was underwater. Total debt over $95,000. They had been drowning for years, and they had used Stephanie's name to steal from me to try to survive. On September 12th, our parents showed up at Stephanie's door unannounced. She told them she'd seen the medical records. There was no surgery. They had lied. Our father said, "We borrowed money from family. That's normal." Our mother said I poisoned Stephanie against them. Stephanie told them to leave. They did. At 9 in the morning, our mother texted her, "You'll regret choosing her over your own parents." In October, they hired a private investigator who found my company. My mother left me a voicemail. Cold, clinical. "We know about your company. You've been hiding it while we suffer. You owe us everything. Help us, or your employees and business partners will know what kind of selfish, ungrateful daughter you really are." My father followed with an email demanding $80,000, citing moral and legal obligations, and threatening a public disclosure campaign and an elder neglect complaint if I didn't comply. I forwarded both to my attorney. 47 pages later, she sent them a certified letter. Bank records, voicemails, medical records, emails, Monica's testimony, a full legal analysis documenting extortion, wire fraud, and the filing of a false report. The final sentence was clear. Any further contact would result in immediate criminal extortion charges and civil claims exceeding $500,000. They had 72 hours. They didn't respond for 3 days. Then my father called. "We just want to talk," he said, "like a family." I agreed to meet them once. A coffee shop, neutral ground, both phones recording. When they sat down, my mother started with, "Sweetheart." I cut her off. I laid it all out, plainly, without emotion. What they did. What I had. What would happen if they didn't stop. My father said families borrow from each other. I said lying about a dying daughter isn't borrowing. Stephanie said she'd seen her medical records and she was done. My mother asked if I was really going to destroy my own family. I looked at her and said, "You destroyed this family. I'm just making sure you can't do it to anyone else." We walked out. They didn't follow. 2 days later, their attorney sent a letter confirming they would cease all contact, withdraw all claims, and not pursue further action. I read that email 3 times. Then I closed my laptop and cried for the first time in 7 years. Not sad tears, relief. On November 18th, 2025, the acquisition finalized. $6.5 million hit my business account. I stared at the number for a long time. That night I went to dinner alone, ordered the most expensive thing on the menu, tipped 50%, and walked home in the rain smiling. A week later, Stephanie flew to Portland. I handed her an envelope, a check for $15,000. "This is the money they stole in your name," I told her. "I'm giving it to you, not because you need it, because it should never have been about money." She started crying. I told her it wasn't a gift, it was a closing. She took it. Then she hugged me, a real one, not the polite, distant kind from childhood. "I'm sorry I wasn't there sooner," she whispered. "You're here now," I said. That's enough. December 15th, 2025. I'm sitting in my apartment, city lights outside the window, Portland rain. I haven't heard from my parents in 5 weeks. I don't think I ever will again, and I'm okay with that. My father told me at my graduation to find something I was good at. Took me 7 years, but I did. Turns out I'm really good at building a life without them. I'm good at turning pain into purpose, and I'm good at knowing my worth, even when no one else did. They wanted me to disappear. I did, just not the way they expected. I'm good at being free, and that's the best revenge I could have ever asked for.